The night had started off quite innocently with Kevin Stewart, Momo Kawashima, and Miho Nishizumi gathered around the low table in their shared apartment, sake in hand. They were all in high spirits, laughing and chatting about their day. Suddenly, Momo let out a gut-wrenching fart. The room fell silent, and then Kevin and Miho burst into laughter. Momo looked slightly embarrassed, but couldn't help joining in the laughter. Kevin, trying to suppress his laughter, said, "Wow, Momo, that was legendary. You've put my farts to shame." This only made Momo and Miho laugh harder. The laughter had barely subsided when Momo let out another, even more gut-wrenching fart. She immediately stood up, her face turning a shade of red, and said, "Guys, I think I just shit myself." Kevin and Miho were doubled over with laughter, but they managed to get up and help Momo make her way to the washroom, their laughter echoing through the apartment. As they were heading toward the washroom, Miho let out a fart that could rival Momo's. Kevin looked at her and asked, "Did you shit yourself too, Miho?" Miho, still laughing hysterically, started to feel something was off. "Oh no," she said, her laughter dying down. "I think I did." Now it was Kevin's turn to laugh uncontrollably. Just then, Kevin let out a fart that was as gut-wrenching as the girls. His laughter abruptly stopped, and he looked at them in shock. "I think I shit myself too." The apartment was filled with laughter and fart noises for a while, as they cleaned themselves up and changed their clothes. Kevin, Momo, and Miho couldn't help but keep laughing at the ridiculousness of the situation. Once they were cleaned up, they returned to the table and resumed their sake night, their faces still red from all the laughter. They couldn't help but giggle every time one of them made a move to stand up. Suddenly all three of them farted at the same time, and the room fell silent. Then they felt it. They looked at each other in horror and then burst out laughing. They had all crapped their pants again. They spent the rest of the night cleaning up, laughing, and occasionally farting. It was a night they would never forget, filled with laughter, embarrassment, and lots of farts. As the night grew quiet, Kevin, Momo, and Miho sat back down with fresh drinks in hand. They were exhausted but still couldn't stop laughing. The air was thick with the smell of sake and farts. "This has been the most embarrassing yet funniest night of my life," Miho admitted, wiping a tear from her eye. Kevin and Momo nodded in agreement, their stomachs hurting from all the laughter. As they slowly started to sober up, they made a pact to never speak of this night again outside of their apartment. After all, who would believe that a simple sake night could turn into a farting competition? Yet despite the embarrassment and the mess they had to clean up, they agreed that it was one of the best nights they had spent together. The laughter, the camaraderie, and the memory of their shared embarrassment was priceless. As they finally settled down to sleep, the apartment was filled with the scent of sake and the lingering sound of laughter. They knew that they would wake up the next day with sore stomachs and embarrassing memories, but they also knew that they wouldn't change a single thing about that night. The next morning, they woke up with a hangover and a funny story to tell. They made breakfast together, occasionally exchanging knowing glances and bursting into fits of laughter. As they sat down to eat, Kevin raised his glass of orange juice and said, "To the farting trio." They all clinked their glasses together, chuckling at the ridiculousness of the toast. That day, they spent the entire day together reminiscing about the previous night and making plans for their next sake night. They knew it would be hard to top the hilarity of the farting trio, but they were willing to try. As the day drew to a close, they made a promise to each other. No matter how embarrassing or ridiculous their adventures would get, they would always be there for each other through thick and thin, through farts and laughter. That night, as they went to bed, they couldn't help but laugh at the memory of the previous night. They knew that they had created a memory that would last a lifetime, a memory that would always bring a smile to their faces. The following night, they decided to have another sake night. They were a little apprehensive, but they knew that no matter what happened, they would always have each other's back. After all, they were the farting trio. As they poured the sake and raised their glasses, they couldn't help but chuckle. They were ready for whatever the night had in store for them. They were the farting trio, and they were ready to take on the world. The night ended as it always did, with laughter and camaraderie. They didn't care about the embarrassments or the messes they had to clean up. All they cared about was the laughter, the memories, and the bond they shared. As they finally drifted off to sleep, they couldn't help but smile. They were the farting trio, and they wouldn't have it any other way. They knew that no matter what, they would always have each other, and that was all that mattered. In the end, it wasn't about the farts or the embarrassment. It was about the laughter, the memories, and the bond they shared. They were the farting trio, and they were proud of it.